Attorneys and law firms are addicted to empty-calorie thought leadership. You've probably read an example of empty-calorie thought leadership sometime today. Maybe it was that fourth blog post you read about a recent Ninth Circuit decision, one that accurately explained what happened, but it devoted a whopping 65 words out of 900 to why readers should care, and it reads like it could have been written by 500 different law firms. The substance is lacking. None of it adds any new thinking to this conversation regarding the legal issues in the case. And yet, you might be wondering whether you or a colleague should write something about that decision as well, because your clients would probably want to know about it based on the work you do for them and the facts of the case, the law at issue in the case, and the court's decision. You probably feel this pressure because you know your silence in the marketplace can speak volumes when there's a legal development out there that affects your clients or your client's industry, and they hear from 3 of their outside firms, but not from you and your firm. They start thinking about you and not necessarily in flattering terms. They assume maybe that you're not paying attention, or that the issue is outside your wheelhouse, or that your competitors are more diligent about legal developments and keeping up on legal developments than you are. None of these impressions may be accurate, but they sure are persuasive. And unfortunately, referral sources, journalists, conference organizers, and others might have these same inaccurate but persuasive impressions about you and the work that you do and the work that your firm does. But creating empty-calorie thought leadership is not the answer. You don't come across as authoritative when your blog posts or client alerts or articles read like every other post, alert, or article out there. You come across somewhere between invisible and forgettable, and you run the risk of diluting any favorable impression that readers will have of you, and you train them to skip over content with your name on it in the future because they know what they're going to get: plain, bland, vanilla, tag-along, Me Too type content that doesn't explain anything in depth and doesn't give them any new guidance, insights, or information to work with. And yet, empty-calorie thought leadership is everywhere in the legal industry. Most blog posts, client alerts, and articles read like a 1L's case brief regarding the decision that is the subject of that content, focused on the specifics of a development at the expense of analyzing its relevance. When the analysis finally does come, there's a lot of hedging, a lot of generalities, and a general sense that the author is going through the motions to write this piece of content for SEO or AEO purposes, or to meet some kind of publishing quota. So when you decide that you're going to cover a legal development because you don't want to be silent in the marketplace and you think your clients expect for you and your firm to cover a particular legal development, before you actually start writing, ask yourself, is what you're going to say different from what others have said? Will my content look different based on what I'm going to include in it regarding the legal development at issue? If you weren't going to go in depth about the relevance of the development to your audience, you were about to produce empty-calorie content. The good news for you is that there is a straightforward fix. You can incorporate one or more of the following 5 elements into your content that will keep it from landing in the empty-calorie pile and give your readers something they can actually read. So let me talk about these 5 elements that nourish your audience and give them guidance and insights that keeps your content away from being considered empty-calorie thought leadership. The first element is, here's what this means for your industry. Zoom in on the development's relevance to the clients you represent or the ones that you want more of. If you're covering some healthcare-related development, how you discuss a development to your East Coast dental group clients is probably going to be different than if you represented plastic surgery groups in the Sun Belt. Show your audience that you know them and their industry by zooming in and explaining in detail how they can expect this decision, this legal development, to impact their operations, their industry, and their overall business. The second element you can incorporate into your thought leadership to prevent it from becoming empty calories is you might want to do this now. Give actionable guidance. What should your fintech clients do in light of that new SEC regulation? Are there steps they can take today? Where do these conversations need to happen? At the manager level, in the C-suite, in board meetings? You want to show mastery over the area of law that you practice by explaining exactly what your clients should do now. The first element focused on why they should care. The second element focuses on what they should do now. The third element, be cognizant of these second order effects. What dominoes could fall when your clients act to comply with the legal development? Will it change their hiring practices? What about their vendor relationships? What about their insurance options and the costs of insurance? Show your audience that when they work with you, you'll be thinking about the issues that they'll face next month and next quarter, not just tomorrow. The fourth element for helping to keep your thought leadership from becoming empty calories is, according to my crystal ball, make a low-stakes prediction or two backed by reasoned analysis. For example, go out on a limb and predict that a state Supreme Court decision will mobilize the affected industry to fight back through lobbying and PR, and then walk through what that campaign might look like. Going out on a limb makes your content more interesting and certainly signals expertise because you are seeing the world in a particular way and you are saying, look, this has happened today, but what I think this will cause is this, that, and the other. Finally, the fifth element you could integrate into your thought leadership to prevent it from becoming empty calories is the don't listen to them, they're wrong. If you think the consensus view of a development is wrong, say so. The majority might expect a development to cause belt tightening and budget cuts, for example, but you see it as an opportunity for companies to invest in growth. Well-reasoned contrarian takes stand out from the crowd and they're fun to write. They also tend to attract reporters and conference planners more than the other four elements. And of course, they signal a certain level of authority and judgment because you're pointing at the majority view and explaining why it's wrong. Here's a stupidly simple test for determining whether your thought leadership is really just another set of empty calories. With a piece of content that you're writing, teach your readers something new. Would they learn something they didn't know or see a new angle as relevant to their organization? If the answer is no, revise the draft and incorporate one or more of the 5 elements that I worked through. Every opportunity to produce thought leadership is an opportunity to win over current and prospective clients. If your competitors are covering legal developments of relevance to your clients and referral sources, you should be doing so too. You do not want to be silent in the marketplace, but you also do not want to produce empty calorie thought leadership. Show your clients and referral sources that you value their time by giving them insights in your thought leadership that they can actually apply to their organizations. You stand out from the crowd, you avoid producing empty calories, and you connect with your clients and referral sources in a way that is likely to lead to future business. If you're interested in learning more best practices for thought leadership, check out lawfirmeditorialservice.com. We have more than 500 videos, blog posts, and podcast episodes full of best practices.